in the discussions, and the mailo systems definitely needs dialogue. And often this conversation is broken down. There are many reasons for it on both sides, the landlord side and the tenant side. So we do have absent landlords, we have threats against landlords, we have little commercial interest of landlords in collecting their busulu. So, but also on the tenant side, we have gaps in the perception on their roles and responsibilities. We have a lot of informal land transactions ongoing, so tenants are changing, moving out of a certain Buganda, and these are the reason that sometimes false caretakers come in the dialogue. So there are a lot of reasons why we see the conversation between landlords and tenants breaking down. And I also want to give a shout out to Dr. Brian Makabai being here from Makarere. I think we need to understand the underlying reasons a little bit better, and we need to also understand the impact of what we are doing better in order to shape the conversation. So I really want to lobby here for evidence-based decision making, and I think we can add a bit of evidence to the discussion. I know you were saying you don't have the number at your fingertips, but there are facts we can quote from that recent study. So we do see that on Mailo, a woman holds on average one parcel compared to their main comparison group who has access to an average of 2 parcels. So we see that there is a gap in land access for women. And for women, very often marriage is still an important avenue to actually access land. And men often do not inform the women on the status of the estate. So there is information asymmetry due to on how the documents are being obtained, be it lease agreements, be it lips. So men have a tendency to put their children on the documents, but less their wives. So it's also rooted in the cultural system. So these are partially reasons why women report higher rates of land conflicts, more threats concerning boundaries, and more risk of being evicted due to various factors. So let me come back to this perceptions I was mentioning. I think perceptions and also the women's reduced access to land is very much rooted in awareness. So what we did as a project together with our implementing partners, of which Makarere was also one in the first place, now we do partner with PACT, with UCOBAC, with Equiland as a close organization to the DLP. We basically try to increase awareness and understanding of mutual roles and responsibilities between landlords and tenants. And I really want to stress this. This is a continuous process to create this awareness and to have continuous sensitization. We find that this transparency and also transparency on the different land option is one very important leverage to create peaceful coexistence. Demarcation helps in reducing information asymmetry. Land demarcation gives clarity on boundary issues, and we also see that the land inventory protocol that the project has introduced as a social document is adding some attributes to reducing this information asymmetry by adding all members of the household to the land inventory protocol, including the women. So we are discussing here joint land access rights. I think this is very important. No, we can't think women land rights outside of the cultural norms, outside of the actual systems. So we see a big opportunity in joint documentation as this fosters also joint household decision making. We have figures on this, that in cases where women have their name on a lip or on a customary land certificate, they are also more empowered in the dialogue within the household on what crop to cultivate, what to spend the money on, which agricultural farming system to adopt. The second very important element after the awareness creation part is this entire topic that came up, the access to justice. You were referring to the legal system, but the legal system is only as good as the access to justice is. And we firmly believe that with alternative dispute resolution mechanisms that are grounded in the local structures, in the local cultural norms, we do have a strengthened access for women to justice by being represented on these alternative dispute resolution committees. However, and this is the point I really want to stress, if we want to improve and increase women's access to land, we have to increase overall access to land services, to land registration. If we are promoting joint documentation, we really need to see how we can take these initiatives to scale. So we are talking here about a scaling challenge on Mailo. Currently the ILGU project is the only project working on the Mailo impasse that puts government, and with that I mean local government, district, land offices, but also federal government, very much in the responsibility in the lack of alternatives. That's a reality, yeah? And we really try to foster the local land service structures to take that mandate to scale the capacities that we have transferred to really scale land registration as one means to improve women access to land. And we cannot forget to what end we are doing this. Thank you for bringing up the issue of access to finance, because we also see quite an inequality there. So we basically see that women are much more affected by informal lending, more expensive lending. If they get formal lending, the amounts that they can borrow is lower. So there are a lot of factors that influence the productive capacities that women have, the capacities to adapt to challenging situations that women have, simply by a lower access to finance, which is very often linked to women being able to give security to the bank. What does give security to the bank? Access to. So I leave it there, I talked a lot. But if you're interested in facts and figures, Brian sits there, but we also have good studies and reports on this. And I think it is really high time, maybe a last word on the COO, because you were looking at me with the COO. We have an impasse on the COO, and I'm very grateful that Dennis Ugo brought it up. There are very high bureaucratic barriers to the COO. But what we do have is a functional land inventory protocol. So let us really think as a community of landowners, tenants, government, partners, what alternative plan B there is in terms of providing the functionalities of land registration to tenants and landowners alike, based on their demand. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Christina, for that. You bring out very pertinent issues around land justice.
Why the country does not stop to copy? They should copy the model that Buganda and board has put forward on land and drop the one-size-fits-all. Buganda Land Board, I'm getting from that point because I want so that you listen to everything else I'm going to say about the gender responsibilities. Our model that allows thinking about several strategies of getting to the end is what should be the answer to the land question in Buganda. A fit-for-purpose approach. If we have tenants that cannot qualify for anything beyond registration and getting a certificate, let that be. And they will pay Usuru, and that is it. But that can't be the only uniform for everyone. It can't be. And that's why we're having this friction between landlords and tenants. Because we feel they should all put on one uniform. That can't be. So we must embrace a model, and this is what we're doing in the Buganda Land Board. We are permitting people to pay usuru, acknowledging that not everyone may have the muscle to move beyond usuru. But we're also permitting people to obtain leases, because that recognizes the friction between economic rent and nominal rate on land. Because the values, the premiums and ground rents then are charged based on market rates. So it kind of strengthens the relationship between the landlord and tenant from that account. Now, if you allow these two to coexist, if you allow people to put on uniforms according to the cloth you have, then we think we shall be moving forward. And that is very important. Now, that model also appreciates the lack of access to finance. That is why Buganda Land Board has what we call the LAFI, the Lease Access Financing Initiative, where we recognize that people don't have the means to acquire land titles at a go. So we connect them to financial institutions that we have vetted, and then they can acquire access to this finance so that they can have land titles in case they wish to have them, but we are only limited because of funds. Now, there is a reason why our society is mostly male-dominated in regard to land ownership. And greatly, part of culture, say, explained, but also access to finance is another thing. Admittedly, we have good laws that have tried to bring equality between this gender. But the practice has shown that these laws are actually not working. We have situations where even a lady has a land title in her name, but will not feel comfortable going into any engagement except if it's the husband speaking for her rights. Now, we must have a mix between the legal systems but also the social context. And that takes me straight to the discussion that John wanted me to begin with. What are we doing? What have we done at Buganda Land Board to show gender responsiveness in land administration and management? It obviously begins with good governance as a practice, good governance in land management and administration, which I'm able to explain, showing the case of our model as Buganda Land Board. But strictly to this relevant material fact, it's important that when we're discussing the female gender, we must import the social context into the definition of tenure. I like the FAO, the Food Agriculture Organization definition of statute of tenure. That clearly shows that when you're looking at statute of tenure, you must connect this guarantee, the guarantee that somebody will have their rights recognized and protected by the people, recognized and protected by the state. Now, in our situation, we have the state recognizing and protecting these things. What about the community? How is the community recognizing and appreciating? In Buganda, you will have situations where land is shared among the ladies, the daughters and widows, or upon the demise of the male figure somewhere, the male figure being a father or a husband. And almost immediately, all the females will sell off their portions. You will agree with me. The daughters will sell because their children are not comfortable putting whatever they have to put on that land on the matrimony, on the female side, because so the first thing women do is sell off. Then the law is clear. It has offered a platform for the women to get the land. they have the land, but they're selling off. So do we have certificate of tenure? Obviously not. So we can't just choose to over-rely on the legal systems. We must work a lot on improving the minds of our people, the community, to appreciate and be able to protect these rights that are covered by the law. Mr. Bo wanted us to talk about what the Attorney General said, having people instantly acquire ownership simply because they have been in adverse possession. Personally, I think that even some sections of the RTA need to be challenged. They are unconstitutional, but that's a different matter. But what I'm trying to say is that even when that clause was present in the law, but not appreciated by the community, it didn't have any problem. People were living and having a very good relationship between the tenants and landlords without taking advantage of that particular section in the RTA. So that lays credence to what I'm trying to say. Let us support, and I'm very encouraged by the efforts by GIZ, let us support all efforts to sensitize our people. Because for me, that is the whole piece. Let's sensitize our people every day, every day, every day. That is the only way. The laws alone will not even help. Actually, the laws have provided more chaos. You will agree with me, since the advent of the 1995 clauses on bona fide and lawful occupants, we have had more disharmony between the landlords and tenants than was supposed to solve. So the law itself is not sufficient. But how else can we proceed? Let us give a lot of effort on sensitizing our community. Let us change the mindsets of our people. And for me, I think that is the bottom line. Great effort should be on community sensitization. Once people are equipped with the information, then everything we're preaching today can come to pass.
So allow me, request you to clap for Mr. Mwene. And I also request you to clap for the partners that have stood with us in this campaign, stand for Halal campaign. Thank you very much. And I also thank, in a special way, Wukobak for working with our people in our local governments, especially the local governments that gives me the mandate to be a member of parliament. Wukobak, thank you so much. And I recognize the presence of our people from Chiroga. Thank you very much for making it. Here I said, thanks for thanking the European Union. Thanks for thanking you. Thank you so much for supporting us. In fact, when we say continue creating awareness, this project is action-oriented as far as awareness creation is concerned. We have been with Mr. Mwene for a long time with these land issues. But we are creating awareness. Please, get certificates. Please, register your tenants. Please do this. You talk, finish all the provisions in the Land Act, and have supported nothing physically. So me, I see this project as an action-oriented awareness project. So I thank you because you follow up with people to observation of tangible results. I can see he has been talking about the C, certificate of occupancy, COO, then certificate of customary ownership. When they help you get that paper, I don't know the happiness people feel when they see that paper. That is tangible awareness. Members, people are fed up of just theoretical talking. It is as if it becomes like a talk for the educated. But now when we accompany our women, I take it as an affirmative action to help our women situated in general. So thank you so much. And then the state of insecurity is reducing. I know some of the people from my place will testify, but the real truth is many of the landlords owning mailo land were invisible. There is even a moment when people thought that they died, or we are just knowing them in dreams or what, when they exist. So the project is helping bring the landlords near to the tenants. It used to be a dream in Kiboga. There are people who have never seen their tenants physically. So thank you so much for bringing this project once again. So I see security of tenant, and then the reduced searches, you know, they tell you your landlord is in Mugono, you go there, no, that one died, then the successor stays in Ruero, then you go there, then you see, I am even asking which woman can follow up to really find out her landlord if the situation was like that. So the project is I attended one meeting in the Bukomero, and I saw landlords whom I had never seen when I grew up from the same area. And so I saw some relatives like, hey, Honorable, you knew me. This is the success of my dad. You know when we grew up, we went to Buganda, but now he's here. And you didn't know her. You didn't know him. When I grew up in the same area, I had never seen those people. I had never seen them. But it is the project that convened the landlords. I also took part and was able to see them. And so I go, oh, your successor all along has been saying it. Yes. So I am 43 years and I managed to see somebody after 43 years. So how can I fail to thank the project for, bringing that relationship closer physically, but also it is an affirmative action to help our women access their landlords and be able to secure their tenure. And even the photos you are using are not copy and paste from somewhere. I know her. I know that lady on the banner, but I also see some familiar faces here. So I can see that the project is with our people. Thank you so much. And then going back to the question, what can we change? What can we change? I'd like to remind you that we are in the process of reviewing our land policy. Because we agreed that we would review it after 10 years. So we are supposed to review our land policy as Uganda, and meaning that the views you bring here, you may think they are, but I just believe that technocrats from Buganda and from the ministry, you'll be able to capture some of these things. And remember when we were there, somebody raised this. So I take this one as a platform through which we are raising issues to change, to improve, because things have changed. Things have changed. And I am also requesting that, so I have already begun submitting on what should change. For us to be very transparent, we need to provide information on the ownership of land, mailo land in these districts. I went to the National Land Information Center to request for who owns land in Chiboga, on mailo, on lease. It became political. Oh, Christine, you are look. Will you be able to get this information? And eventually I didn't get it. Why should such land be hidden? Why should they receive it? What is wrong with that?